There's been a lot of hype recently around the fact that you can now connect Spotify directly to your DJ software. Now this sounds great, right? But before you go and ditch all the other ways to get your DJ music and rely solely just on Spotify, there are a few things that you should be aware of that might cause you some problems. And in this video, I'm just going to go over those things just so that you are aware of them and you can make the best decision for yourself going forward DJing. Let's get into it. So if you just take a look over on the left hand side of my library, you will see that I am connected to 3 different streaming platforms. Right at the top we have Spotify, and then underneath we have Beatport and BeatSource. I have been using Beatport and BeatSource for quite some time now, and over the last few weeks I've been testing out Spotify streaming whilst I'm DJing live in the clubs, and I have come across a few issues with it that I'm just going to explain now. So first, let's go into Spotify, and we can see here that the first section is called Made to DJ. Let's open that up, which actually brings me to my first point. I find that most of the tracks on Spotify are actually designed to be on Spotify and not to be DJ'd with. That means music producers make shorter versions of the track that get straight into the main part of the track a lot faster. So things like vocals, instruments, and bass lines will come into the track a lot faster, or even have them right at the very start of the track. This can make DJing with these tracks a lot more difficult. Whereas when you go onto DJ specific platforms like Beatport and BeatSource, they'll have DJ specific tracks such as extended mixes and intro versions. This is where you'll have intro beats at the start of the track and outro beats at the end of the track, specifically designed for DJing. So from here, I'm just going to open up the dance and house folder because that's probably what I would use the most, and go into this top one, housework. And let's just load up the first track here called Lift Me Up on the left hand side. So if you have a listen to the very start of this track, you'll hear that there's vocals and some instruments that come straight in. There's also a bit of a drum roll there, so that tells me this is a build up, and it's going to build up into the drop of the track. Alright, so hopefully as you can hear then, that would be quite difficult to DJ with. But if we go into Beatport and just search for this track Lift Me Up, let's have a look down. Okay, so it's here. And just drag this one up on the right hand side, we can already see in the music library that it says extended mix. So this is more designed for DJing, and let's just listen to the start of this track. Alright, so we do still have some instruments there at the start, but it's a more stripped back version of the track. It doesn't have any vocals in and no drum roll leading up into a drop. Then a kick comes in. So it's going to slowly introduce them elements a little bit more that makes it easier for DJs to mix with. Let's listen to this next section. Alright, and then we have the bass line come in. So hopefully you can hear that will be a lot easier for DJs to mix with and layer over the top of another track. Now this isn't every single track, there are some extended mixes and some tracks you can DJ with on Spotify of course, but what I'm saying is they're not primarily designed for DJs. So you can come across a lot of tracks that are not designed for DJing and will make it more difficult for you, especially if you're a beginner. I did a video recently on YouTube where I reviewed one of my subscribers' DJ mixes, and one of the common things that I seen is they were using the original versions of tracks, which makes it more difficult for DJing. If they were just to use extended mixes or intro versions of the tracks, it would make DJing a lot easier and make your mixes sound smoother. Now another issue with using Spotify streaming is that you cannot use stems. So what I'm going to do now is just turn stems on. So now we have stems activated. You can see the 3 buttons in the middle, drums, instruments and vocals. I'm just going to go and drag the same 2 tracks up again. So let's find the track Lift Me Up. And this one is on Spotify. So the track on the left hand side is streamed through Spotify. And then let's get the same track on the right hand side, but this time with Beatport. So now if I try and use stems on the track on the left, it's not allowing me. And if you can see on the screen there in the bottom left, right in the bottom left, it just comes up with an error notification saying that stems is not available. So now let's have a listen to the track on the right hand side from Beatport. Alright, so from here we can remove the drums, and we can just hear that melody. Or we can remove the melody and just have drums. Let's get to where there's some vocals. Here we go, we can just isolate the vocals here. And then put the elements back in. Now, it might not be the cleanest sound because I do have it set to prioritize for speed right now. If you want better sounding quality stems, you would want prioritize for sound quality. It's just because I'm recording, I've got a lot of things plugged in. Now, I'm using stems quite a lot in my DJ sets now, especially for hip hop and R&B, and not having that function available on Spotify tracks does make it a little bit of an issue. The next thing is that you cannot add Spotify tracks to a playlist. So now let's go into my playlist section of my music library and let's just create a new playlist for this. I will just leave it named Untitled Playlist. If I drag the track on the right hand side from Beatport over into this playlist, it will go into that playlist. But now if I try and do the same thing with the track on the left, it just won't allow it. So I cannot add any of the Spotify tracks into my own playlists. This can make planning and preparing for DJ sets very difficult with tracks from Spotify. The next thing is you cannot store tracks from Spotify offline. So if I go into Beatport right now, and then I just right click this track here, you'll see an option at the bottom saying store offline. So with both Beatport and BeatSource, you can store tracks in an offline locker, which means you can then play them even if you're not connected to the internet or connected to Wi-Fi. So it kind of stores them on your DJ software. You can also see here over in the music library section, it says offline library. Now I only have 3 out of 5 available for Beatport, but if I go into BeatSource here, the offline locker goes up to 1000 and I have 88 tracks at the minute on this laptop that are stored offline. But if you go into Spotify and then right click, you'll see that there's not an option to store offline. And if I just go over into the library here, there's also no option to store offline either. So to use Spotify effectively, you do need a solid Wi-Fi and internet connection, which can be sometimes risky when you go into other venues. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There are still some positives with using Spotify. And one of the main things that I have found is you can pretty much access any track in the world just by searching for it on Spotify. Granted, it might not be the extended version, you might not be able to use stems, you won't be able to put it in a playlist and you can't save it offline, but if you can work around those things, it can still be useful for things like taking requests, or if you have a certain idea for a track really quick, you can pretty much guarantee that the track is going to be on Spotify. But with that being said, I would check Beatport and BeatSource first, and generally they have most of the tracks. That is why I'm connected to those two platforms. Beatport is really good for your house and EDM music, and BeatSource is really good for your hip hop and R&B music as well as commercial dance. Now, all this might change in the future. Spotify is still new to the DJ software scene, but for now, these are the issues that you need to be aware of. Now, even though I do have Beatport and BeatSource streaming connected to my DJ software, it's not the only place that I get my music for DJing. I also get MP3s and WAV files as well. And if you want to know all the different places where I get my DJ music from, you can check out this video here where I go through all the places that I get my DJ music from. I hope this video was helpful. I hope to see you again in the future. Bye for now.